Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Everyday Heroes podcast. Today on the podcast, we have George. He is a dad of 3 kids, Mia, who's 16, and twins, Billy and Victoria, who are 14 years of age. Now, Billy was diagnosed at the age of 2, and as you can imagine, he and his wife, Lisa, were basically thrown into a world of uncertainty, unsure, overwhelmed, all the things that you would expect a parent who has a child who's just been diagnosed with autism. And so, like many parents, he threw every different strategy at Billy to see what was going to work, what was going to stick, and what was going to move the needle the most. So George has an engineering background, and he poured all of his energy into finding the right answers and the solutions into finding what was going on. So if you're a parent who has just started the journey, this is an episode that you'll want to hear. And if you're a bit further along, I want you to know that this is also something that you can take so much work out of. So George, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome.
Welcome. It's great to be here, and a little bit nervous.
No.
But it's definitely a step back down memory lane. It's been a journey, absolute journey. So I'm really excited, but also I hope I can add value to the podcast and the group based on our journey. And I think everyone's journey is different, and I wish I had somebody that I could talk to in the early days. So it was hard.
Oh my gosh, you said it spot on. I wish me too, George. Like, I really wish that I had someone like yourself who I could have gone to and just said, I've got questions. Like, I don't understand. No one gives me a manual when it comes to raising a child who has been diagnosed with autism. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. What was it like for you and Lisa when you first got the diagnosis? How did you cope? What really came up for you after you received the diagnosis?
I'll go back probably one little step more than that. Billy is a twin with Victoria. So we were able to see some slight differences. His ability to maybe interact or some eye contact and just not doing the things hitting those milestones when you go on your sort of 3-month, 4 months checkups and all that kind of stuff. And it started raising little questions, and you dumb it down and you sort of just played along as it's a boy. They take their time, and I was a bit of a slow talker when I was my age and all that. And we went to one pediatrician, and they was like not sure if he's on the spectrum or not. And then he got a little bit older, and he was definitely way behind on the targets. And we stumbled across an opportunity to go to Latrobe, or the Deakin Uni out sort of Bundoora way, and it was like a free assessment where that day, it was you sit behind a glass wall and you get to see your son sort of try to interact or do the activities and stacking the blocks and all those things that I guess someone on a piece of pad and paper are telling you that he's not doing. And when he did one, you're like all excited, and then when he doesn't, you're like, just unlucky timing. And then a person comes out of the room and sits you down and says it's obvious that Billy's got autism, and gave us a show bag of what is autism, and that was it. And then it was about an hour drive back home in the car. Billy's in the back seat, just blasé, having a good time, and Mum and I, Lisa, my rock, is sort of soaking it in, and we were just really not knowing what to do. What does it mean? What is it? Like, it's not. I don't really know many people, and the ones that I do know, I guess it might be from the movies, or it might be from other people. And there's some extreme cases, and you're thinking extreme cases. You're thinking the worst scenario. What does it mean? And then you start going through all the phases of sort of trying to figure it out. What did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? So yeah, it was hard. Absolutely. Absolutely hard. So I just wanted to know answers. I'm an impatient guy that when I'm focused on something, I really just want to nut it down and figure it out, and explain it to me mathematically, explain it to me from an engineering point of view, explain it to me, this happens, that happens, and then that's the outcome. And then as I started asking doctors and pediatricians, causes and what is it, and just shaking their heads. So many contributing factors, so many variables, so many this, that. I was just sick of it. And I was obsessed in just finding out what is it? Is it one thing that had done? Is it one thing that's caused it? Is it what is it? I want names, I want answers. I just want to know. And I was focused so down that path, whereas Lisa was the loving, hugging, and I just wanted to just barrel down this path to find out what it is, sort it out, and move on. And was the beginning. And I just research. I'm sure we'll go on about it and probably ask me some other questions. I can go off on tangents, but I went off on this robotic, just obsessed mode where I virtually shut everything out of my life, and I just was obsessed with going down the path of figuring out what I'm going to do. So I think I went through the 4 stages or whatever stages of the anger, and I was short fused, and that's how I think I dealt with it in many ways. And Lisa. Yeah.
I am hearing you talk, and it's bringing tears to my eyes because it takes me back to when my angel boy was diagnosed, and that feeling of like, what do you mean? Like, how I don't understand what this is and what this means, and what does this mean for us, and what does it mean for him? And exactly like you, I'm very much okay. Let's get it done. Like, what needs to happen? The problem with autism, though, as you will have found, A plus B doesn't equal C. So you're like constantly left in this situation where you're just going to try and throw a whole bunch of different things and see what works, because it's not like what works for one child won't work for the other. And that's where it becomes really frustrating.
Yeah, 100%. And I remember telling my friends, my close group of friends, we went out one day and we sat down, had a coffee, and then I just blurted it out. And they were like, oh, okay. Okay. So, what help is going to happen, and you'll be right. Okay. And they continued on with the conversation, and I was physically there, but I wasn't mentally listening to anything that was going on. I was so focused on, I'm sitting here wasting my time, not resolving or finding out what I have to do. And was the early days. That was the early days. I can
you'll find that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go into what we'd done and what we experimented with, and what sort of witchcraft, sort of things we were trying, and yeah.
It's very common for the dads, especially, to want to come in and just like fix the solution, because as men, you are wired to do that, right? When we as women come to you and we're like, oh, we're sad and we're upset and whatever, you just want to fix it, right? You guys, you're the fixers. You fix the problem. Problem here is it's very hard to, and even if it is, like, I don't know if there is a fix, but even if you could fix it, it's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that may never happen. I don't know, right? And so this idea of I see a lot of my male clients, my dad clients, coming up and butting up against that time and time again, where they want to fix it, but they just don't know. Like, it's so out of their realm that they're left, and they feel like they're failing then because they feel like they can't fix it. So, I wanted to add that in.
Even a spiritual point. Like, I remember I was in the city doing some work, and I walked past a church, and there was a church with the door open, and there was no one in there. And I went and sat in there for about 15 minutes, and
I feel you right now. I feel you. What did you learn the most on your journey? You would have learned so much, right? Because you would have researched. You're such a researcher. You're such a focused person to get information. What did you find that about autism, I guess, that stood out the most?
I think the journey started by just Googling my lungs out virtually, you know, from one page to the next page to the next page to the next page. And I had no bias. So then I slowly built a bias of believing there's some kind of gut and brain connection with the gut and the brain, hocus pocus, witchery kind of stuff. I believed in something and I believed in that. And I thought, let's go down this journey. So it was about understanding, and the reason why I sort of started going down that path, as I was reading more, I was connecting more dots of what I believe to be not the cause. Is forget the cause. It's contributing factors. So once I got to you have to get to a stage first where past the anger, past all that, it's acceptance. Yeah.
That's a big one. A big one that parents around the world are struggling to deal with is accepting and coming to terms with this is the diagnosis and what does this look like going forward. Was that the case with you guys?
Oh, once that was lifted off my shoulders, the acceptance, I just thought, I always knew I was always obsessed with them, so I was always focused, and anything I do, I really focus, and I was hyper focused. I was hyper, so we went down the normal medical path, seeing a doctor and everything like that, and it got to the point where the doctors, I felt, just had less and less answers than I was asking. And even my poor wife, she would, we would go to a session to the doctor. She would get in because there was nowhere to park sometimes. So, I'll drop her off with little Billy, and they would go upstairs. And the conversation would go with the doctor, is your husband joining us today? And she's like, yeah. And the doctor would be like, oh, okay. So I'd walk in there, open the door, sit down, and bang. What about this, that? I was, to the point where I just stopped going down that path. So what's the path? So the path for me started off with a naturopath called John Petrica at Mount Waverley. I've got to get his details, but he went down a similar journey with his son, and went down the medical route of drugs, medical drugs, intervention, and everything, and didn't see much progress at all. And he was also science background. He had a science background, and so he started concocting his own vitamins, what he thought might help, and he saw some small improvements. So then he went down that path and just saw more improvement to the point where he was obsessed and became a naturopath and was able to, he wasn't able to become an official MD, but his knowledge base on research and information worldwide with the people working on the latest info was incredible. And we started Billy on basically a gut healing journey. So what does that mean? That means finding out the status of his gut flora and bacteria. Billy was having awful stools. His bowels were just runny, constipated, runny, or constipated, runny, and constipated. Sometimes would see him pressing over things to help with his stomach a little bit. It was all these little cues that were subtle. I was more attuned to it, and we started seeing small improvements in his stools. As we started seeing more improvement in his stools, we were seeing a little bit more improvement in Billy. So I'm like, oh, okay, let's continue down this path. And as we're going down this path, and it's a slow path because you'd think you'd want to grab a whole bunch of vitamins or whatever it is to just throw it all in there and just do a Hail Mary and hope for the best. But it doesn't work like that. Some of them could have an opposite effect. So you need to try one for a while, introduce it slowly, see effects, see what it does. And that just took months. And I'm prepared to do it. Then we started going down a GAPS diet, GAPS GAPS diet, which was, that was brutally hard. And we had our own ideas that, how's our 2-year-old gonna eat just soup, just bone broth soup? But when you read about it and you see and you find out a lot about it, it's such a nutritional source of um, nutrients for the gut lining to help with the gut. Because what we found from the analysis of from the stools and the urine were that the flora was totally opposite to where we believe the norm should be. And that came about from leading researchers all over the world, and especially this Dr. Kurt Waller in America from Great Plains Laboratory. And we sent stool and urine samples to America, having midnight conference calls, midnight sessions. And he's studied thousands of children, and there's been common denominators in a series of all these vitamins and dopamine and serotonin, and all these have a, you can't repair your zinc levels, you can't fix the zinc levels until everything else is balanced first. So there's a step-by-step process, and it's a long process, but when you see little results, it keeps you going. So together with the lab results from America, recommendations from the medical doctor in America, that's so far ahead of his time with what he's doing. Yeah, and I was making sauerkraut. Lisa and I were making sauerkraut at home. We were going to the farmer's market and getting raw milk and making we were making butter, ghee, and all this. Just even I was going on the side of the road and collecting raw dandelion weeds, and you steam them and you cook them and you eat them. And the Greek background is that they actually eat a lot of that, and with a bit of lemon and garlic, it's delicious. But we were feeding a 2-year-old sauerkraut, we were feeding him bone broth, we were feeding him ghee, and all these nutritional things. And we started seeing the stools getting much better, much better, and much better. And then there was a little bit of talking, just the starting of words, which we were just, it was amazing. And then we got to the point where we were able to introduce vitamin B12. And people think, oh, you just go get vitamin B12 from Chemist Warehouse. Now, this was a compounded injection of vitamin B12 in its most absorbable form. So you had to get it through a doctor, get it prescribed, and you had to inject a needle at a certain angle into the bum, and trying to hold down a boy that's screaming. I was sweating, he was sweating, he was crying, with the belief that this thing is going to help. And we were advised that it might take 14 days before you see some results, and we did it every day. Lisa just couldn't do it. I had to wrestle him and just do it. And sure enough, in about 14 days, we were seeing little sentences coming out of nowhere. Well, okay, we're going down in the next level. And then we also looked, so we were continuing all the food stuff, the GAPS diet, introducing certain foods, staying away from certain foods, no additional sugars or pastas or any kind of gluten. People, there's gluten-free pasta. We stayed away from any of those starchy kind of stuff. Even though it might be gluten-free, we just stayed away from it for ages, years. And it's so easy to just get something from the supermarket, you heat it up and you just give it to them, and oh God, it was so easy. But we didn't do that. We stuck to our guns. Now, guy eats more than me. He's just out of house and home, this kid, and we don't bother about it anymore. He's just eats whatever he wants to eat, which is anything. So we went down the path of ABA therapy with Helping Hands, it's called, in Cheltenham. So we went down there, and oh man, walking up those stairs to take him up there for the first time. And we were in a place where I think there was some really extreme kids. They were on the right at the, I think, at the high end of the spectrum there, and it was, man, I couldn't focus. I was being spoken to by the teachers there, and they were telling me, and they're all excited, all meaning well, all lovey dovey, and everything was really good, and meaning, they're going to be looking after my son. They're going to be looking after my boy. And man, I broke down after when I got in the car to go back to work, and everything was going to be okay, right? Yeah, man, I had a moment. Oh, you know, yeah,
Very difficult. Very, very difficult situation in those ones.
yeah.
And no one talks about it from the dad's perspective.
Oh,
Everyone's talking about it from the mum's perspective, but the dads seem to get lost in the mix somehow. And it's important for dads to come on this podcast and to share and see the emotion and see what's going on so that they can feel like they're not alone, because they're not alone. They are so not alone. Dads are so important, so integral in this journey, because as us mums, we can't do what we need without you guys. You guys are the ones that hold us up so that we can continue doing the things that we need to do. And so if you're not okay, that means that we're not okay. And that makes it a big deal, right?
Yeah. I was we're seeing so much great results, with the school, the therapy. We were coming home, we were doing cards, and it was doing all these little memory things, and he was picking out names, grandma, grandpa, mum, dad, and, crocodile and duck, and we were playing little games, and it was great. It was really good. And that went on for a little bit of time. And one day I get a call from the school, but like every time I'd pick up Billy, the teachers were just, oh, Billy's had a great time, he's had an amazing time. And I would walk out of there pretty proud, pretty proud that he had a good time. And I was at that, acceptance stage, and I was also at the stage where still researching, still finding out stuff about, working with biomedical doctors, working with all these things, still going, working on everything we were doing, still diligent with it. And one day I get a call from the school, and they asked me to come in, and I'm like, oh no, shit, what's happened? They said, oh, George, we need to have a talk. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And I came in, and they said, we feel like Billy can transition into a, neurotypical, whatever that bloody means. Yeah, like I was really impressed. I was shocked, impressed, and emotional, and tears, and I wasn't expecting that, to hear it from them. I thought he was doing great. So then the next chapter, the next journey, what would it be like when he goes to school? Well, are people going to pick on him? Is he going to be bullied? Is he going to have this? Because of his he had because of the delayed speech, the clarity of his speech, wasn't there like, I guess, kids his own peers. So I was a little bit nervous about that. But to his guns, he was happy, loving, caring, just always pumped. Like we'll pick him up, he was excited. The teachers were always said that, well behaved. Everything was, I was just picturing, just non-stop going in there to fight for Billy, to battle, to protect. So it was good. His sister wasn't in the classes all the time, so I thought that was a bit nervous about that. His twin sister, to have his safety blanket there, I guess. But no, it was really good. So we got to the point where we fully didn't need to go to any ABA therapy anymore, and it was in bone marrow secondary primary, and that was it. So parent teacher nights and reports and everything like that were, we got this.
That's so good. It's so nice to hear those sort of stories, right? When it's hard in the beginning and then something happens with all the work and all the effort as parents put in, and then there is, light at the end of the tunnel that shows that this child is thriving. Now, don't mention obviously for confidentiality reasons for where his high school is at the moment, but how is he going in high school at the moment?
Look, really good. There was a one or two little bullies in the early days, and to go there and sort them out. But there was one or two that just took advantage of his kindness, But no, he's good. He's got a group of friends that he communicates with all the time, and he has a sleepovers. He goes over, and the parents don't have any concerns, and then some people, when they meet Billy for the first time, and I mention that he's on the spectrum, they don't see it, which is an amazing experience, sort of. Like, you think, this person asked me once, if I can snap your fingers and get rid of all this autism stuff, would you do it? And I was like, no. Nah. That's who he is.
It is who he is, and it's part of his makeup. And I've had parents ask me the same thing, and I said, but if I was to take that away from my angel boy, what would that look like then?
Right.
Like, he would be a different person. He wouldn't be the same person, because it's part of his makeup, and it is who he is. So it's, yeah.
He's a caring boy. He's a caring boy. His eye contact is fantastic. He doesn't. There was some little bit of, I think, stimming or flapping in the early days. There's none of that. There's just seems like a boy that just is playing a little bit of catch up at the moment. So he's taller than me. He's a good looking boy. Lucky he's better looking than me. Thank God for that. He's a happy kid, and I think I'm always going to be a little bit of a protector over him in a different way that Mum is. Mum's the hugs, the kisses, the love, the sweets, and all that. I'm the more, I'm thinking the world out there is going to, eat him up, and I'm there trying to protect him from the world and try to make sure that there'll be idiots out there. There'll be people that don't understand, and there'll be people out there that just, it will be bullies in a way. And I try sometimes, but the better part of me, I sometimes still, try to make sure that he's I don't know, thick-skinned, toughened up a little bit, but this is where it's hard, because I'm a little bit of a hard man, but I'm a softie deep down. Oh yeah. When the kids come up to you and hug you, it's all over. It's over. I love it.
Love that so much.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just about to say that, without Mum, no way. Absolutely. The love of a mother to a child is absolutely.
I can see Lisa on the call. She's written in the comments, I'm so sorry I couldn't be on the call with you. I'm here listening. Lisa, I want you to know that I can't wait to have a chat with you as well. But you sound like a pretty special, pretty awesome lady. And we need more of those kind of mums out there and celebrate them for all the things that they are doing, because it is definitely a juggle to manage everything, as on top of managing the relationship that you have with your spouse, with your husband.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I wanted to ask with you. What did you do to keep the marriage happy, alive, on track, as opposed to what we're seeing now, a lot of the times where marriages are sort of, falling apart because one parent feels, wants to go in this direction, the other parent wants to go in this direction. How did you guys manage that?
Romance. No, I think you got to, everyone's different, but you just do the best you can with everything you can. And like we spoke about this earlier as well, that because we've got twins and an eldest, we're at that stage where how do we do this? We're outnumbered. So we got Billy that needs some assistance, and I got our eldest daughter Mia, which she's really inquisitive. She wants mum and daddy time, and we're outnumbered. So the middle child, the twin by a couple of minutes, she was left to fend for herself, and we would put her in front of the TV and watch Dora the Explorer, and we would be doing this and doing that, and then she's ends up having an American accent from watching TV. We'll go to school and people will say, "Oh, is this your daughter?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's got an American accent." Oh, don't start. So basically you get outnumbered. All right. So what did we do? So we had to divide and conquer. So there was things that Lisa is amazing at, and the things that I'm amazing at. But you need. Oh, there was times when we wanted to kill each other, But Lisa, I remember once said to me that without me going down this journey of questions and asking and this and that and this and that, she wouldn't be able to do that. And that's my superpower. And her superpower is keeping the family together, keeping me in line. I'm off on tangent, gone. So I had to support Lisa against some of my best wishes or things sometimes, where she needed things done, and I still don't do everything right, but when she needs things done, I just got to shut up and do it. I just got to do it and think that she's got a certain vision, and I've got to do it. But she saw we were aligned in the treatments plan. I think that was it. How we executed between ourselves was where we had the friction, a little bit of friction. But the idea of going down this path of diet intervention at the start, biomedical intervention, talking with doctors overseas, talking with naturopaths, we were aligned. We were aligned because I wanted to go down this path and try it, and we slowly saw little snippets of improvements. I can only try to imagine if somebody wants to go down A path and somebody wants to go down B path. Oh man, I can't imagine what would happen there. Every day was a battle then. So we just had to try to keep it cool together, and sometimes what happens as well, you focus on all your energy into that problem, then you let yourself go a little bit on you. I was so obsessed with everything else except for me, because I felt like I wasn't important. I didn't. Whatever happened to me, I didn't care. I could work, long hours all day, every day, physically, mentally. I can do it, no problems. I don't care. I don't want to hear anything about me. It's about them. And Lisa as well. Lisa had a cafe, running a cafe at the time as well, and I had my own business, and we were just, it wasn't for the mother-in-law, the father-in-law. My parents were a little bit older, and that was a bit of a struggle there. But my mother-in-law Fufi and Effie and my father-in-law Saba, they were, geez, yeah, they were the bench warmers, saving us. So without them, yeah, that was bloody hard.
It's the village, right?
It takes a village and some, because like it was. You try to do a date night out. You try to go out. You try to keep the romance going. You try to keep everything going, and you're just exhausted. At the end of the day, you're just exhausted. You're just so exhausted, and you're just exhausted.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. One of the last questions I wanted to ask you is, what did you find the most challenging part out of your entire journey? Is there one thing that really stood out the most that you felt like this was the hardest bit? And if so, what did you do to tackle it?
The hardest part, well, I think there might be two or three. I think the hardest part was acceptance. But before that point of acceptance, to accept that it's not my fault, it's not Lisa's fault, it's no one's fault. Fuck, it is what it is. Just get shit done, move on. Doesn't matter. Just whatever it is. going forward. You got to go forward. So the hardest part was when we were first told about your son has autism. Here's your show bag. See you later. I got upset with them because one of the traits of autism was a lack of empathy. And the way they told me and my wife that your son's autistic had no compassion, no empathy. And these were meant to be psychologists. I would have imagined they would sit you down in a room with maybe a psychologist there, somebody else, a support person, to explain what the next steps might look like. Not a piece of paper. Good luck on your journey. See you later. Next. I was I was seeing red, you know. So yeah. So acceptance and then going down a journey that's I never and the other thing was I never accepted the first answer on anything. I would question it myself. Do, am I a medical professional? No, no. But some of the biggest breakthroughs that have happened with kids with autism from doctors that are leading the charge worldwide has come from feedback and discussions with parents about what they're seeing, what they're noticing, what's happening, all these things. And then the doctors, the real doctors, will listen and then do their magic in combination with parents. So you got to find a doctor or someone that sees it in a different way, that sees it in a way that you might see it. What did I stumble across it? Did it? Well, I don't know if I just got lucky, but there's hope. There's people like yourself that are doing. I wish I had something like this, a forum where I could just vent, talk to, release. I didn't have anything like that, and I vented with anger.
And we see that a lot. We see it from parents, from mums and dads. The anger, the frustration, the wanting to I remember even my own journey, I wanted to just punch someone so hard, George. I wanted them to feel the pain that I was feeling. And if that meant that I could just hurt them just as much as I was hurting, everything would feel better. But we both know that that's obviously not going to solve anything. But that's how it felt. It felt like I was I don't smoke. I don't drink. I'm a good person. I'm not killing anyone. Why? Why have we been given this journey? What? I didn't understand. And I think that's where a lot of parents feel very alone, very isolated, very much again, like what you were saying at the beginning, the failure, the feeling who was it, because we had medication? Did we take the medication? Did we sit too close to the computer? Did we, do you know what I mean? The list is endless. But you can't, because if you do that, you are no good for your child. If you drink into that and you drink the Kool-Aid, I can tell you right now, you are not showing up for your child the best way possible. And in fact, because they're going to see you, regardless of whether your child is speaking or not speaking, they are watching your body language and they are watching what you're doing. And most of the time, our faces are so constraught with and contort with anger and sadness and I'm being upset, but we do it
mistakes, making mistakes, mistakes that, it's just, you're 100%. It's such a, there's beauty in it. There's beauty in autism. You just have to be able to be at a stage to see it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that needs to be captioned just right there. There is beauty in autism, and I couldn't have said it better myself.
I'll give it to you for free. I'll give you that. I'll give it to you for free. When we were doing the therapy, the ABA therapy, and Billy was told is no longer needed. I remember asking the school, how many kids get to this stage? And they were like, not many get to be told to leave school. Right? So I told them what I was doing and the journey. Right? And this is a little thing inside of me that really upset me, but the teachers were amazing. They loved what they were doing and they had their belief of what they were doing was it. Whereas what I was doing was doing the alternative treatments and using the ABA therapy as catch-up for Billy, for missing out on all those years of that development, or their natural development. And when I told them what I was doing, they were, it hurts me to say, but they were quick to dismiss it. They didn't want to know, which I thought was really odd, because you're telling me there's not many kids that get to leave the school on a full time, like, gone. Wouldn't you want to know what you were doing? Just, and doctors were like that. And I was getting the reports from America, some of these pages of documents from America, and showing it to the doctors here, the pediatricians here, and they were looking at it like, what is this weirdo showing me? I would get out of there. I'm not paying. That's it. I'm not paying for this session. They're like, what? What do you mean you're not paying? Okay, no, I'm not paying. No value added. Just gone.
And a lot of parents feel like that, right? They feel like, I've walked into this appointment and you have not added, I actually know more than you do about what this particular topic is. And then they get so frustrated. So I can absolutely appreciate that. I'm mindful of time, George. I just wanted to ask one more thing.
Yep.
For a parent who is just starting the journey, what would you tell them?
Shit. Fucking up. Let's have a coffee. There needs to be unconditional love, and think of things in a different way, because they do. You need to think of it in a different way and have patience, which I was limited on. My regrets. You won't get it right. You'll just need to try different things and just go down a path of a belief that you have, right? And just talk to other people that have been down this journey. Talk to friends. Don't let it fester inside. And, I really do believe each child is so different that with the right kind of medical help, there could be some improvements somewhere along the lines. There's somewhere, I'm not talking cure. I'm talking to a point where you can sleep at night and not go to bed crying.
Spot on. You're absolutely spot on. If you can get to the point, where you're like, I can actually see how my child is going to live, even if, God forbid, that we're no longer on this planet, that they will survive and they will thrive, and it will still be okay. And I think that's when the point where you're like, okay, I've done my job as a parent.
Yeah, that's our biological. That's our thing. We're meant to pass everything on for our kids, so that our kids can, all that stuff, right? And there was a stage I'm thinking, if something happens to me, who's gonna who's gonna look after Billy? Bloody hope his sisters step up to the plate. But I gotta say, the sisters love him to death. There's days where they want to kill each other, but they're minimal. The days that they love each other is great. Like the things they do, and like when I see them playing together, having fun together, I love it.
It's so heartwarming, right?
There's hope comes in different disguises. You just need to be able to see it, not push it away because you're just hung up on it's autism. It's a beautiful thing. You just have to see it, and you just have to allow yourself to see the beauty in it. That's it.
George, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your point of view and the journey with Billy. I so appreciate it. I know so many listeners are going to be appreciative, because it is a journey, and it's so important to hear what other people have gone through, so that you can be like, well, maybe this is something that I can try for my child as well. Again, thank you for all of your wisdom. And if there's anything else you want to add, otherwise we'll wrap it up.
When I went for a little walk, get my steps in for the day, went for a walk, and I was thinking about the podcast meeting today, and I was reflecting, and I reflected back to John Petrika, the naturopath. So I looked through my phone and I found his number there. I called him and he didn't answer because he was in a session, but he replied back to me saying, "Hi, George." So he still had my phone number. "Hi, George. Great to hear from you. I hope everything's well." So I replied back saying, "Everything's fantastic. I'm about to step into a podcast to talk about our journey with autism." So I wanted to say big thanks, and that was it. So
That's
yeah,
beautiful. These are the angels that are sent into our lives, George, to make the biggest difference to our families. And I'm a true believer of that. And sometimes it's not luck. It's not luck that we get sent these people. It's not luck and random and strange and whatever else you want to say. These beautiful souls are put in our space and in our journey because of a specific reason. And they're here to guide us every step of the way.
I love it.
I love it. Thank you so much, George. And I will talk to you soon.
Excellent. Nice to talk to you.
You too.
Good on
Bye.
you.